In this video, we are going to look at some commands that can tell you a little bit about your system. The first command we'll look at is df. df shows you all the disk space you have allocated and how much you're using. So let's take a look at that. There's a number of things listed, and all these ones that are none, those are some special things you don't need to worry about. Kind of the same with the tempfs. So really that first one, the one that starts with /dev/something, those are the ones you're going to need to look at. You may have just one big file system, or you may have a number. That's going to depend on your system. What we see here is, in the case of that first line, how big is the disk, how much I'm using, and how much do I have available. It's 21% full, and it's mounted at my root file system. That's all useful information, but these numbers don't really tell me a whole lot. It says they're in 1K blocks. By default, df shows everything in blocks, and your block size can be different. It can be half a K, it could be 1K. Mine happens to be 1K. Those are all in K, but like the available space, it's not even got commas in it. It's like 18 million K or something like that. But there's a better way. If we add an argument -h, the H is for human or human friendly or human readable, and it says show the numbers in a way that makes good sense for humans. Now this is much better. My disk is 24 gigabytes. I've used 4.5 gigabytes, and I still have 18 gigabytes available. Very easy to understand in that sense. So that's the df command. Now let's take a look at the uptime command. Uptime does one basic job. It shows me the uptime of my system. First we have the time, then how long it's been up. My system's been up for 3 hours and 15 minutes. There are 2 users logged in, and that's basically my GUI login and my terminal login. And then the load average is 3 numbers. It's a 1-minute average, a 5-minute average, and a 15-minute average of really how busy the system is. Essentially, what that number is saying is, at any point in time, how many processes are trying to run, trying to actually do something on the CPU. They're not waiting on anything. They're not sitting idle. So for example, right now, most of my system is idle because I'm just sitting here talking. There's really nothing going on. And that's why those numbers are so low. And that's the kind of thing you're going to see on a not busy system. If the system is busier, you will definitely see some more things going on. And just kind of as a rule of thumb, if you exceed 1 per CPU, in theory, if you have 4 cores or 4 CPUs on your system, you could have 4 things running on CPU at the same time, and it's not going to be that big a deal because you have enough CPU for that. So that's kind of the rule of thumb. If you're exceeding 1 process per CPU on average, then that means your system is getting very bogged down. Or if you see numbers like this, it means your system's just sitting around doing nothing, waiting for you to do something. The next command we're going to look at is a very simple one called hostname. And hostname shows me my hostname. This is a virtual machine, and I named it Linux just so that it would have a name for doing these videos. It's not a very exciting name. My Linux box is called Linux. It just shows you the hostname. Could be useful at times. Another useful command is the uname command. Now the uname also tells me that it's Linux, but now it's telling me what's the operating system you're running. What's the name of the Unix? That's really what uname is saying. It tells us that it's Linux, but it doesn't really tell us anything more than that. If we give it an argument of -a, the -a in this case is tell me everything. Tell me all the information that you're going to tell me. If we just read this from right to left, we have a Linux box. Its name is Linux. We have the version of the kernel that it's running. We have some information that it's a 64-bit Ubuntu system. Linux Mint is built upon Ubuntu Linux. It's doing multiprocessing. We have the date and time that the kernel was built, and then some indications that it's 64-bit and it's running the GNU Linux system. Uname-a, another source of some useful information. Just a few things to give you some basic information about your system and what it's doing, how much disk space you're using, how busy is it, that kind of a thing.